There's a lot of different ways this crime could have been committed.
That was the blood-drenched frontman for the National Rifle Association, Wayne LaPierre, who takes home over $1 million a year of the dues money sent into him by gun owners like the mother of the killer of the women and children at Sandy Hook Elementary School. We don't yet know if she was a member of the NRA. Maybe that's something Wayne LaPierre can tell us on Friday when the NRA finally makes its long-awaited statement. Wayne LaPierre loves to use that line after every gun crime that stuns the nation. There's a lot of different ways this crime could have been committed. But here's what we know. A homicidally crazed man went into an elementary school on Friday. He got 22 kids. That's right, 22. And they are all alive today because it happened in China. And he attacked the children with a knife because that was the most deadly weapon he could possibly get his hands on in his village of Chengping. And so, no, there are not a lot of different ways that mass murder at Sandy Hook Elementary School could have been committed. There is only one way, the way that Wayne LaPierre wants to preserve: mass murder by firearm, an all too common American way of death.
I think the American public has had their fill of what happened last night.
No, that was not Wayne LaPierre speaking the day after the massacre of the children and the women at Sandy Hook Elementary. He has been in hiding since then. That was Wayne LaPierre the day after this happened.
Our current gun culture, Whitlock wrote, ensures that more and more domestic disputes will end in the ultimate tragedy, and that more convenience store confrontations over loud music coming from a car will leave more teenage boys bloodied and dead. Handguns do not enhance our safety. They exacerbate our flaws, tempt us to escalate arguments, and bait us into embracing confrontation rather than avoiding it.
That simple comment by Bob Costas sent Wayne LaPierre rushing to the microphone to tell the world that the American public has had their fill. Not of gun violence, not of mass murder. The American public has had their fill of Bob Costas. Wayne LaPierre is a professional liar. He lies for a living. Professional liars know when to shut up. They know when their lies won't work. And so as Wayne LaPierre remains silent and in hiding this week, his world is changing around him. Another mass murder, this time of children, has finally forced some people to change their minds about guns. Some senators and congressmen are changing their minds. Some former congressmen, like Joe Scarborough, are changing their minds. And today, the conservative New York Post is to the left of the New York Times on guns. The Post editorial today says, "Has technology rendered the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution obsolete?" That is, has the application of modern military design to civilian firearms produced a class of weapons too dangerous to be in general circulation? We say yes. Included in that we, in the lead editorial, is the owner of the New York Post, Rupert Murdoch, an Australian by birth who became an American citizen by choice late in life. Murdoch knows the Australian experience with mass murder. In 1996, an Australian shooter spraying bullets from a semi-automatic weapon killed 35 people. The Australian Prime Minister said then, "We do not want the American disease imported into Australia." He meant, of course, the American disease of mass murder by firearm. The Australian government then banned assault weapons, tightened licensing, and created buyback programs for guns. Since then, there have been no gun massacres in Australia. None. And here, in the United States, children age 5 to 14 years are 13 times more likely to be killed by a gun than children in other developed nations. And the more guns your state has, the more likely your children are to be killed by guns. In fact, the more guns a state has, the more likely people of all ages are to be killed by guns. Guns do not increase our safety, they increase our risk of death by guns. A Harvard School of Public Health study finds the health risk of a gun in the home is greater than the benefit. That gun accidents are most likely to occur in homes with guns, and that a gun in the home is a risk factor for intimidation and for killing women in their homes, as the mother of the shooter in Connecticut so suddenly discovered on Friday morning. The Harvard study also found, quote, there is no credible evidence of a deterrent effect of firearms or that a gun in the home reduces the likelihood or severity of injury during an altercation or break-in. Those are the facts of gun ownership in America, facts that professional liar Wayne LaPierre does not want you to know. And so tonight, Wayne LaPierre continues to huddle in hiding with his advisors, trying to come up with what the NRA should say when they make their announcement on Friday, exactly 1 week to the day since the massacre of women and children at Sandy Hook Elementary. There is no chance that Wayne LaPierre will choose to say what is best for the country or our children. He is simply trying to figure out what is best to say for the preservation of his $1 million paycheck and for the longevity of the NRA. He may decide that it is time, for the NRA's sake, to follow in John Boehner's footsteps in the fiscal cliff negotiations and take a small, compromising step towards sanity. Maybe agree with the New York Post and other conservative commentators who think the sale of high-capacity ammunition magazines should be restricted. Some small step like that. Or maybe Wayne LaPierre will calculate that it is right for the NRA to continue to pretend that the Second Amendment, written at a time when the right to bear a firearm meant the right to bear a musket capable of firing exactly 1 bullet at a time with a very cumbersome reloading process that would take you about a minute, if you're good at it. Wayne LaPierre may try to continue to pretend that the Founding Fathers, who wrote the right to bear muskets into the Constitution, that those Founding Fathers intended for us all actually to be able to obtain and bear weapons of mass murder beyond the wildest contemplation of any of the authors of the Constitution. This time, for once, it actually isn't easy to predict what Wayne LaPierre will decide he has to say to preserve his position and to preserve the NRA. Not easy to predict. Maybe they'll think they have to do some word of compromise. But we do know this. There is nothing Wayne LaPierre can say now. There are no words, none, that can wash the blood from his hands.